If you've been online at all lately, you've seen it. A metallic sphere, perfectly smooth, no welds, no seams, recovered near Buga, Colombia. MIT just released the clearest. And now the headline everyone keeps repeating is even crazier. MIT finally exposed what's hiding inside the Buga sphere. Here's the problem. If even half of what's being claimed is real, this isn't a UFO story, it's a history story, because the inside of this thing allegedly contains a structure that looks less like ancient metalwork and more like a modern sensor network. And the age tied to it? 12,560 years. Read that again. 12,560 years. MIT just released the clearest. If that number holds up, it doesn't just change what we think this object is. It changes what we think humans were capable of. But before we do what the internet always does, jump straight to aliens, there's one rule we have to follow. Separate what's verified from what's viral. Because right now, there's a second mystery hiding in plain sight. Not inside the sphere, inside the story. Who actually scanned it? Who actually has the raw data? And why does the word MIT keep getting used like a magic spell to make you believe? Keep that question in mind, because by the end, I'm giving you 3 possibilities for what the Buga sphere really is, and the one test that could end this entire debate in a single afternoon. Setup. Why this object went nuclear. The Buga sphere is the name given to a metallic orb that surfaced in reports after it was allegedly recovered in Colombia. Some people say they saw it moving strangely in the sky. Others say the videos prove nothing. That part is messy. But then the story leveled up. X-rays, CT scans, internal structure. Because it's one thing to say, I saw a glowing orb. It's another thing to say, we looked inside it, and there's architecture. And that's the claim that turned a viral clip into an obsession. And just like every modern anomaly, 2 things happened at the same time. 1. Genuine curiosity. 2. The algorithm cranked the drama to 11. So our job is to pull it back down to reality, without killing the mystery. The MIT claim, authority versus evidence. Before we go inside the sphere, we need to go inside the headline. Because MIT exposed it sounds like a press release. It sounds official. It sounds like the debate is over. But online, big names get attached to mysteries all the time, because it makes people stop scrolling. Scientists just released new data, and this matters a lot. If the sphere is real, you prove it with reproducible data. If it's fake, you also prove it with reproducible data. Either way, the method is the same. Raw measurements, independent verification, chain of custody. So as we walk through the claims, don't ask, does this sound cool? Ask, could another lab reproduce this? Because that's where the truth lives. Now, let's go inside. Anomaly number 1. What the imaging claims is inside. According to the imaging results circulating online, the sphere's shell is not a single piece of metal. It's layered. MIT just released the clearest 3 concentric layers, different densities, different compositions. And here's the first big wait, what? moment. The layers are described as seamlessly bonded. No welding marks, no joints, no visible seams. If true, that implies controlled manufacturing. Processes like precision casting, powder metallurgy, or advanced deposition techniques. That's not random scrap, but the shell isn't the headline. The headline is what the shell is allegedly containing. Inside, bright, high-density spots, dense microspheres, 18 of them. MIT just released the clearest. Arranged in a geometric pattern, 2 rings around a central rectangular component some researchers are calling a chip. And this is where the language changes from cool to concerning. Because this isn't decoration, it's architecture, a layout, a system. Now pause here, because this is critical. Random debris doesn't arrange itself in perfect rings. If this layout is accurate, someone placed those spheres and then sealed the object. Even more unsettling, the internal spheres are said to be connected by a network of roughly 52 fiber-like strands embedded through the metal matrix. MIT just released the clearest. The reported diameters fall in the same range as modern fiber optics, translucent under high magnification, possibly silica-based. And if you hear fiber optic network inside a sealed metal sphere, your brain should do what mine did. That's not archaeology, that's systems engineering. A hub-and-spoke layout, nodes connected to a central component. MIT just released the clearest, and I need you to picture this like it's sitting on a lab table in front of you, not on a TikTok clip, not behind dramatic music. On a table, a sealed sphere. Inside it, 18 dense nodes arranged like they were plotted on purpose, and a central block that everything seems to point toward. If you're a materials scientist, you don't think spaceship, you think function. Sensors, storage, communication. If you're NASA, you think, could this survive vacuum and radiation? If you're SpaceX, you think, could this survive launch vibration and re-entry heating? Not because you believe it's theirs, but because that's how engineers read objects. They read intent. And yes, there's a big fight happening right here. Some people claim those fibers are real internal filaments. Other people argue they could be reflections from lighting during microscopy, artifacts of imaging, or misinterpretation of surface features. That disagreement alone tells you the truth. We do not have enough raw data in the open. Screenshots are not science, and we've seen what happens happens when the clearest image exists, but the public doesn't get it. The images NASA refuses to show, we need the full tomography volume and independent reconstruction. But even with that uncertainty, one thing is clear. This internal logic is why people immediately connect the sphere to NASA and SpaceX, because this is how modern aerospace thinks. Distributed components, shielding, redundancy, a central controller. If you're designing satellites, probes, autonomous systems, this is a familiar design language, and that leads to the uncomfortable fork in the road. If it's modern, it's impressive. If it's ancient, it's impossible. But the imaging is only step one, because the second anomaly isn't what's inside. It's what the sphere is allegedly made of. Anomaly number 2, the metal that shouldn't test like this. Material analysis claims the base alloy is mostly aluminum, roughly in the neighborhood of aerospace aluminum. And normally, that wouldn't be shocking. But then hardness testing enters the story. The reported number is around 330 on the Brunel scale. MIT just released the clearest. Typical aerospace aluminum is far lower. Some of the hardest heat-treated aluminum alloys push into the 200 range. 300 plus starts creeping towards steels, which means one of two things is true. Either the measurement is wrong, or the alloy is not normal aluminum. And the analysis that keeps being repeated points to a specific explanation: rare earth element additions. Cerium, neodymium, lithium. MIT just released the clearest. Not mystical elements, engineering elements. The same categories of materials tied to high-temperature stability, magnetic properties, and weight-optimized strength. The exact things modern aerospace obsesses over. NASA cares about this. SpaceX cares about this. Because when you're sending hardware into harsh environments, heat, radiation, vibration, materials decide what survives. And here's the twist nobody wants to admit. If the sphere is a hoax, this is still the part that matters, because it would mean someone had access to sophisticated manufacturing knowledge, and they designed the story to sound like aerospace. That's how you make it believable, not with aliens, with engineering. Now, does any of this prove NASA or SpaceX are involved? Number. There is no public evidence either organization has claimed it, tested it, or possesses it, but it explains why the internet drags them in. Because the alleged material story reads like an aerospace wish list, and then we hit the part that either collapses the whole case or blows it wide open. The date. Anomaly number 3, the 12,560-year problem. The most controversial claim is radiocarbon dating, not of the metal. Radiocarbon dating doesn't date metal, it dates organic material. And the claim is that resin associated with the sphere was dated to 12,560 years before present. MIT just released the clearest. Let me put that in perspective. The Egyptian pyramids are about 4,500 years old. Göbekli Tepe is around 11,000 years old. A date like 12,560 drops into the Younger Dryas, an era of major climate disruption. And mainstream archaeology does not place humans in that era with advanced metallurgy, precision drilling, or embedded fiber-like networks. So if that date truly belongs to the object, there's no comfortable conclusion. Either our dating is catastrophically wrong, or our timeline is wrong. And if that sounds dramatic, remember this. History has pulled this trick before. The Antikythera mechanism was once dismissed as impossible, a corroded lump from a shipwreck. Then imaging revealed gears. MIT just released the clearest. Precision, astronomy, a machine that shouldn't exist in its era until it did. So yes, keep an open mind. But here's the skeptical checkpoint that matters. Even if the resin date is real, it might not date the sphere. It could date contamination. It could date older organic material introduced later. Or it could be an intentional age anchor added to a modern object. Because if you wanted to fake antiquity, you don't fake the metal, you fake the organic residue. So the question isn't, is the date shocking? The question is, has it been independently replicated? Multiple labs, multiple samples, documented handling? Because without that, 12,560 years is not an answer. It's an advertisement. This is where the internet goes full cinema. MIT confirmed it. NASA recovered it. SpaceX is reverse engineering it. Gravity tech, ancient beacon. And to be clear, when data is scarce, humans fill the gap with story. Always have. But look at what's actually blocking certainty here. Not a classified stamp. Access. The sphere isn't sitting in an open public research collection. It's not in a museum where anyone can study it. MIT just released the clearest. And in mainstream science, there's a brutal reality. Extraordinary claims don't get a free pass. They get risk. Researchers hesitate to attach their names to controversial artifacts without rock-solid evidence, because reputations and funding can evaporate overnight. MIT just released the clearest. So you end up with a catch-22. You can't prove extraordinary claims without access to top-tier facilities, and you can't get access without preliminary proof. That is not a conspiracy. That is the incentive structure of modern science, which is exactly why the MIT Exposed It headline feels so powerful. It skips the hard part. It tells you the verification already happened. But science doesn't run on headlines. It runs on protocols. And when a story skips protocols, that's when you should get suspicious. no matter what side you're on, the one test that ends the debate. If the Buga sphere is real, you do not need a secret meeting with NASA. You don't need a billionaire engineer. You don't need whispers. You need a verification program. Here's the short version. Independent radiocarbon dating, multiple labs, multiple samples, documented chain of custody, publish the raw CT data, not screenshots. The full volume, so other researchers can reconstruct it independently. Full materials characterization, hardness methodology, elemental spectra, microscopy, and ideally isotopic analysis of the metal. Because if someone is implying non-terrestrial or ancient high-tech, isotopes and microstructure are where the truth hides. And that's where MIT becomes relevant in the only way that matters: capability, not as a magic word. As a lab that, along with national facilities, can actually test these claims at the level required. Until that happens, this object stays in the worst possible zone, famous enough to be myth, but not verified enough to be science. Recap: 3 possibilities. So where do we land? Here are the 3 possibilities. 1. Modern construction, an art project, a hoax, a social experiment, something engineered to look mysterious and generate exactly this reaction. 2. Modern object, misunderstood, a specialized industrial component or prototype ripped out of context, with mystery growing faster than explanation. 3. Genuinely anomalous artifact, something that survives independent testing, replication, and open scrutiny, and forces us to rewrite chapters of human capability, or consider a non-human origin. And I'm going to be honest, I don't know which one is true. Nobody does, yet. But the path to the answer is not more rumors, it's more transparency. So here's my question to you. If you had to choose right now, before the next viral clip, where do you land? Modern hoax, modern misunderstood object, or truly anomalous artifact? Drop your theory in the comments and tell me what single piece of evidence would actually change your mind. And if you want the next update, the moment any real lab releases replicable results, subscribe, because whether this sphere turns out to be a scam, a misunderstanding, or the most disruptive artifact of our lifetime, the real story is the same. How we decide what's real in an age where anything can go viral. And if the Buga sphere is nothing, then that lesson should terrify you, because it means a well-crafted object and a few screenshots can bend reality inside millions of minds. But if it's something else, something that survives the hardest scrutiny we can throw at it, then the question isn't what's inside the sphere. The question is, what else is out there, hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone to test it the right way? Are we ready for the answer?